And here we go, guys. Again, it's Victor from playbooksports.com. And here it is. This is what we've been working on here over the last 2 weeks at Playbook. It's our college football newsletter. It comes out on Wednesday, October 30th. Of course, it's released every Wednesday after 1 o'clock p.m. This week's Playbook football newsletter, 20 big pages. You don't want to miss it. Check it out at the website. And since this is a all college football podcast that will be running on Wednesday, that's what we're going to run through in this short little 5 to 6 minute segment where we're going to talk about conference realignment, what's been going on in college football. Of course, it kind of seems like it's been a nonstop realignment these days. And let's run through those conferences as we can. There's been seismic moves thus far in the last 2 seasons, of course, with Oklahoma and Texas making the move to the SEC next year, the Pac 12 basically disbanding, and a couple of their big teams moving to the Big Ten. Those are the big seismic moves. But let's run through the conferences really quickly here, and we'll let you know where all things are in the 2023 season. And of course, we'll go in alphabetical order. We'll start with the ACC. Of course, they've announced no big plans, but this conference is pretty much up in the air still. Yes, in this season, they will continue to play with 14 teams. Their last realignment was back in 2013 when Syracuse and Pitt joined the conference. And of course, back in 2014, Notre Dame also agreed to play 5 ACC games per season. So they are a kind of a quasi, but not official member of the ACC. But the rumor mill is out there that potentially Stanford and maybe Cal from the Pac 12 and maybe even SMU from the ACC might be joining this conference, the ACC conference. So we'll keep an eye on the potential going on in the ACC conference. Moving on to another Power Five conference, all the action's been in the Big Ten. They've seen the most major changes over the past decade. Of course, Nebraska joined from the Big 12 back in 2011. They were joined by Maryland and Rutgers, of course, from the ACC and the Big East, respectively, back in 2014. But of course, the big news for the Big Ten as of next year, they'll be having four brand new teams: USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington from the Pac 12 will all be members of the Big Ten Conference in 2024. That's next year. And of course, that'll push this conference up to 18 teams, the largest conference in college football. And we got a feeling the Big Ten is not done yet. Next up, let's check the Big 12 conference, another conference in which there has been a lot of teams coming and going. We already told you about Oklahoma and Texas. They're out as of next year. This is their final year in the Big 12 conference. They'll be leaving for the SEC. So after losing a couple of teams, what did the Big 12 do? They added some teams. They added one, two, three, four extra teams in the conference for this season. BYU, who used to be an independent, will be in the Big 12 in 2023. So will Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida, all from the AAC conference, making the move to the Big 12 conference in the 2023 season. It's going to be a wild year in the Big 12. And not only that, but next year in 2024, joining the conference, or I should say rejoining the conference, will be the Colorado Buffaloes. In addition, other schools from the Pac 12 making the move to the Big 12 conference in 2024 include Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. It's going to be a 16 team Big 12 conference in 2024. Pac 12 conference. Moving on, let's head out west, but not for long, apparently, because we mentioned all the teams who are moving from the Pac 12. That would be Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Oregon, UCLA, USC, Utah, and Washington. And that basically disbands one of the college football Power Five conferences. Yes, for this year, they'll be at 12 teams in the Pac 12 conference, but who even knows if there will be a Pac 12 conference in 2024? Stay tuned for next year. Next up, let's talk about the big one, the SEC conference. Now, obviously, we know they added Missouri and Texas A&M way back in 2012, and of course, they will be welcoming in Oklahoma and Texas next year in 2024. For this season, no changes in the SEC. They will remain at 14 teams, but again, with Oklahoma and Texas joining next year, this conference will bump up to a full 16 teams. We'll run through some of the minor conferences very, very quickly. Of course, I mentioned the AAC conference. Cincinnati, of course, made the move to the Big 12. Of course, Houston and Central Florida also made the move from the Big 12, joining the conference this year in 2023. Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, North Texas, Rice, UAB, and Texas San Antonio. That's what, six teams joining the AAC conference. So the conference will have 14 football playing members in the upcoming season. Big changes in the AAC, as in the Conference USA as well. They've probably had the most movement of any conference this upcoming season, Conference USA, as six teams are leaving and they're being replaced by five other teams over the next 2 years. Don't forget last year, Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss left the conference for the Sun Belt in 2022. So, in this wacky Conference USA, what is the conference lineup going to be in this 2023 season? Well, let's see. We are adding Jacksonville State and Sam Houston State. That's right, two FCS teams making the move to FBS. So they will be joining Conference USA. That's Jacksonville State coming off a week 0 win last week. Welcome to the FBS. And Sam Houston State as well. Also joining Conference USA this season, Liberty and New Mexico State. And finally, next year, another FCS team will be joining Conference USA, making the move from FCS to FBS. Next year in this conference will be Kennesaw State. MAC conference, no changes whatsoever in the Middle American Conference. They'll play the season with 12 teams this year, as will the Mountain West Conference, a 12-team conference again this season as well. And finally, in the Sun Belt Conference, their latest realignment actually happened last year as FCS team James Madison moved into FBS territory and joined the Sun Belt Conference, while, of course, Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss joined from Conference USA, the Sun Belt Conference. And again, that was last season. So there you have it. The smoke has cleared a little bit in regard to the conference realignments. We've got some major changes happening next year in 2024. That is where we are at in terms of college conference realignment changes in 2023. With that said, let's get back to the Mark Lawrence podcast. You don't want to miss it. Against the Spread with Mark Lawrence, yours truly, and the rest of the boys. Have a great day.